So I have two really big personal updates to share with you guys. It may not be really fitting for the channel, so I'm gonna leave those at the very end of the video so that if you guys just wanna hear what's going on professionally film-wise and the gear I'm using, that'll be part 1 and 2. And then the last part of it, at the very end, I'll be sharing those two really huge things that are going on in my life. So if you wanna stick around for that, that would be really cool. But for those of you who are just here for the cameras and filming stuff, feel free to just watch those segments. So anyways, we're again outside in my beautiful backyard. It's incredibly hot here in Virginia. But anyways, I just wanted to give you guys an update on, where I'm at. So professionally, I filmed actually 2 weddings, which you actually saw on the channel. The first one was Heather and Caleb. They kind of did like a shorter elopement wedding film. And then 1 week later, actually, I filmed a more high-end wedding at the Clifton with Melissa and Marco, which was a really good time. I was really actually incredibly nervous about that one. Actually, I was nervous about both of them. Heather and Caleb's was a really good, I guess, it was still, a full wedding and everything, just scaled back down, but it was really good to kind of start things off with a COVID-ish, as I said in my Matt Johnson submission when I had him review on his channel. I'll link his video where he reviewed that wedding, which was kind of cool. But anyways, it was a good kind of introduction to me getting back into the wedding kind of scene for the year, because everything got pushed off later and I hadn't even shot anything second shooter wise. So this was like, all right, we're back into it. And it actually went really well. I really liked the footage. I did a ton of prep for it, just kind of getting my portraits kind of down in my head, what I wanted, and really just prepping all my gear and stuff like that. So a week later, it was a lot more, there wasn't any pressure from the bride and groom and everything, but the Melissa and Marco wedding was a much higher end wedding, and I was actually working with a planner, which I'll talk about in a second, that my wife and I are really good friends with. So that connection was kind of being built through that wedding. So there was a lot more professional pressure, I guess, with this wedding, because if I do it really well, I could get some really good referrals through that planner and through the friends of the bride and groom. So I was kind of giving myself a little more pressure than I needed, which I tend to do. I'm sure you can relate with any sort of creative thing. You end up really pressuring yourself and thinking that if this fails, then I fail, and that's just not a healthy place to be. But either way, I got through it, and I really enjoyed it, because once I step foot on a wedding day and I step out of the car and I got my camera in hand, it's like my mental attitude changes to work mode, and then I act like Seth Godin calls you being a professional. So that kind of switch happens in my brain. So I have the second half of those 2 COVID-ish weddings coming up. One is in August, I think first or second week in August, so that's coming up pretty soon. Then the Heather and Caleb's is in September. So I'm really looking forward to those, to kind of add a second half to it. And so what I'm doing with it is I'm not adding it to the wedding film. I'm actually going to be just creating those as like separate little videos in and of themselves. So you have their main video where they actually got married, and then you have the second video where it's like the reception and the family and that kind of thing. One mistake I made was not asking for more money for those second events, essentially. So I wasn't asking for another half-day cost, because I was like, well, I mean, I'll just work it into my cost up front, and I won't charge extra if I do another thing. But I mean, after the fact, I'm kind of frustrated at myself for not doing that. So essentially what I'm saying is, if you're doing an extra shoot, you've got to charge for it. Even if COVID happened and it's not their fault and everything like that, you got to charge for that second thing. So luckily one of the couples offered, because I'm like, I heard he said, yeah, of course not. I'm not going to have you pay for that, And I was like, Nolan, come on. So that one I'm getting paid for. I did my normal price, like a half wedding essentially. And then for Heather and Caleb's, I'm not getting paid. So if they see this, I'm not mad. I'm just kicking myself for not, charging that. So I mentioned earlier that there was a planner of those high-end weddings that I was in contact with, and her name's Elise. And so she's an awesome planner, plans a lot of higher end weddings. And so as I really want to break into that high-end luxury market, and I know that takes time and experience and that kind of thing. But getting her referrals from clients who don't necessarily have the budget for like in our area, I mean, the high-end luxury filmmakers are, I think the wedding filmmakers start at like $8,000 just for their starting. And I'm at, I think 22.9 right now for my like tiny package, 2 to 4 minute. And then I think I'm at $3,000 for my 3 to 5 or 4 to 6 minute highlight, something like that. She is, has been really integral in landing me that wedding that I had a few weeks ago, but also for future weddings. So my big takeaway from all of this is that so many different, and I know because I watch them, different filmmakers on YouTube say, you know, here's what you do on your Instagram or Facebook or whatever to get clients. And those are, in my opinion, supplemental. And I'm kind of making a statement as a, you know, filmmaking YouTuber, if you want to call me that. All I would say is that there is no one size fits all, do this professionally and you'll get clients. Because it seems to me like the two biggest variables are the people that you meet and the people that you build relationships with, and then you as a person. Are you someone who other people want to work with? If that's the case, that you're a great person, you do good work, and you know some people in the business, it seems to make sense to me that you're gonna get some work. My issue is when filmmakers are saying, hey, post on your Instagram, do this, do that, do the other thing, post on YouTube, whatever, make a website, when what they're not telling you is go out, meet people, build relationships, not for the sake of just meeting people to meet people for professional reasons, but meet people because you enjoy learning more about other people and how they think and what makes them tick. Because if you actually build friendships, your in-person social network will become wider, and then, I mean, by proxy, your professional network is gonna get wider too. So put yourself around good people, people in the industry. Try to get yourself around some folks that you think could move your career forward, but don't try to use them. There's a fine line between that. So all that to say, professionally, what I've found is as long as you do good work, if you know good people, and you're the kind of person who's great to work with, then things, at least on my end, have gone well because of those two things. I know there was a long-winded introduction, but I also wanted to talk about gear, like everyone seems to want to talk about these days. I'm shooting currently on the Panasonic GH5 with the Sigma 18-35. As some of you already know, I've really loved this combination. It's really heavy, I will say that. Like, it's not the kind of camera you want to bring for travel, but in my case, having a really sharp, fast zoom lens has been super helpful to me personally, because I get that wide angle 24 mil for establishing shots, which is pretty much all I use 24 millimeters for, or these videos, this is also 24 mil. 35 millimeters for general like portrait shots of groups, which I found particularly helpful. And then 35 for pretty much everything else, which is a 50 millimeter equivalent. So it gives you a ton of options when it comes to filming weddings, and I don't have to switch to a wider angle to, you know, get those establishing shots or indoor shots that are a little tighter. One thing I will say is that it does limit creativity just a little bit. So what I've found is helpful is saying, okay, I'm only gonna shoot this at a 35 equivalent for this section. So then I only do that, so then I'm forced to compose and I'm forced to move around. And I treat it like a prime lens. So if I'm indoors, I might say, for getting ready prep, I'll just shoot it 50 mil and I'll only shoot at that. So then I have to kind of move around and keep it as a prime essentially, and then be more conscious and intentional about the focal lengths I'm using. Anyways, this video is gonna be a lot longer than I thought. But this video really isn't for new people. This is for people who care about the channel and care about, well, for lack of a better term, me or my professional journey. So the 18-35 has been great, and the GH5 has been amazing. Having a camera that is so freaking reliable has been something that's been so helpful on many different occasions. From the job that I work at the nonprofit doing communications to weddings, it's just so reliable on those days. So what do I mean? So essentially I set it to C2, custom setting 2 at 4K 60 all day, my shutter speed set, my ISO set, and the only thing I really need to worry about is white balance, which I have set to custom button, which makes it super easy to go indoor and outdoor when it comes to white balance. And then all I have to do from there is just adjust my variable ND on the front and maybe ISO if I'm inside. So having everything set up and ready to go means like I don't have to worry about getting the right or wrong settings. I have everything set up and it just works. Like the flip out screen, the ergonomics of it, like everything works. And I think that to me is the most attractive thing about the GH5 and why I think for now I'll be staying with Panasonic for the time being. I actually wanted to talk about that too because, I mean, I only own one camera right now, which is the GH5, because a while ago I sold my G85 and my GH4 to buy this, which I'm glad I did, but I don't like not having another camera because I usually have to borrow from friends or rent. So what I'm doing is I'm beginning to budget out what the end of this year is going to look like into 2021 when it comes to filmmaking. So because I'm getting a few more inquiries here and there, and then actually the folks that I second shoot with, they're starting to refer me their clients, which are right in the price range that I'm looking for as well. I'm going to start booking more weddings. I think into 2021 I'm going to be pretty heavily booked, and my prediction, as I said in my 2020 goals video, was to be completely full-time in filmmaking sometime in 2021, or at least have a date in mind in 2021. I'm just thinking, okay, what gear do I want to have that'll really set me for the next, I mean, you can't future-proof yourself completely, but let's say 3 years. So the next 3 years, what could get me by when it comes to weddings? So I've decided that instead of buying, let's say, 2 more GH5s, which would be 1,000 each or so, I would buy 2 G85s, which will be, many of you will be happy to hear, because that 4K 24p is going to be really good quality, better quality actually than the GH4s for ceremony angle shots. So that's the biggest reason behind that. Infinite recording, gets about an hour and a half of runtime on one battery. So I'm not too worried about it on a reliability standpoint. And the image quality is just a little bit better in 4K, and it's a little bit cheaper. The 60p is kind of another story, but I imagine if I have a second shooter, I may just have them shoot 30p 4K on a monopod. So it's already stable, and I can slow it down 80%, and then it'll get slightly slow-mo footage with the 30p 4K. Along with the G85s, I'm hoping to buy a Panasonic S1 in 2021. My only issues at this point would be the 30-minute record limit in 4K 60, but it does have unlimited recording in 24p. If you want to, set it up as a ceremony angle, I could do that. So lenses, I'll probably talk about in a future video what lenses I'd like to get with that, seeing as it's like ceremony angles and full frame, and will I get a zoom or a prime, and it has to be full frame because I'll be getting an S1 and all those kind of things. I mean, I'll talk about all that in a future video, but I just wanted to give you an update on kind of where I think I'm going when it comes to gear purchase decisions, which are, the funnest thing. And all of that gear talk is super exciting, but I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, as people down here seem to say, because I want to make sure I'm booking at least 20 weddings next year if I'm going to be making that kind of purchase. That's the hope. I've got my website set up, which I'll link in the description if you want to check out my work. I also have an Instagram now, which is, shocker, welcome to the 21st century, at Reminiscent Film Co. if you want to go follow me over there. So if you're here for the filmmaking and filmmaking only, this is where I'm going to start talking about my personal stuff. And if you want to watch, keep watching. So 2 really exciting things. First one is my wife and I are buying a house. So it's not this one. We've rented this home that we've been in for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's been really great. But we've just decided that it's time that we move on to something not necessarily bigger, but better, because we'll own it and I'll be able to do work to it because I love, working on things and fixing things. So having a house just gives us a lot of stability going into the future, and I'm just super excited about that. So we're moving to Stanton, Virginia. Shot actually my Sigma 30 1.4 review video. All the sample footage was from there. So it's got a really cool downtown, and I'm actually really excited to shoot camera tests and sample footage there because there's just a lot of cool places. So be on the lookout for those videos sometime in the distant future, because I probably won't be uploading a whole lot after this video because, drum roll please, my wife and I are having a baby. So that's super exciting, and that's why I probably won't be uploading for a while, along with the house, because that's stressful enough as it is, and we're closing in like 2 weeks. So I've got a lot of things on my mind, along with working a normal job, prepping for buying a house, building my filmmaking business, and then having a baby along with all that too. So it's just super, super exciting times, but also a little bit overwhelming. And I've been listening to this pastor by the name of John Mark Comer, and he's just been kind of hitting me hard on the whole hustle and hurry epidemic that's kind of hitting our culture, and especially the freelance world. You know, like people are saying hustle, 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 and where's the balance? And so this pastor, John Mark Comer, has been just kind of such a help to my soul, just kind of helping me see that, you know, I don't have to post all the time, and I don't have to be working and thinking about work all the time, because the best work is done when you're coming from a place of abundance and not scarcity. You're not just creating and figuring out things to make. You're making because you love it. You're making because you are wanting to make it. It's coming from a place of rest, and it's not coming from a place of just being tired all the time, which I'm finding has been true. And I think that just comes from the tiredness coming from doing too many things. I mean, that's, if you count all those things together, that's 5 huge things, and 2 of those things are psychologically the toughest things, or the most stressful things that humans have to deal with in their life when it comes to just normal life events. 2 huge shifts, baby and house, huge. So there's just been a lot on my mind, and I'm just realizing that I can't do it all alone by myself, and I have to just cut some things out. And so for now, YouTube is going to be one of those things that I set off to the side. I'm definitely not done, because I really do enjoy it. And it's actually making some money, which is kind of nice. But I just want to let you know that I'll probably be gone for, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a little less than that. I might throw a video in a few months just to give you an update on filmmaking business stuff. But just want to let you know that this is not a priority. So if you want to unsubscribe, that's fine. But I will be back later on in the year. So if you want to stick around, I would love that. Anyways, I just want to let you all know all of that. I know this was a long-winded video. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments. I'm kind of curious how many of you would have made it this far. But I'd really love to hear about what you guys are doing in filmmaking over the summer. So if you guys want to send me an email with some of your projects, and I'd love to know what's going on. So I'll be keeping up with comments and emails throughout the summer, but you just won't see as many videos. So anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys maybe later on this year.